I know the people on Facebook are saying, is he saying anything? Can they get started? And I know your folks are live. Y'all ready to go? I know for the folks out there who watching the camera, the people off camera that you can't see are making certain adjustments so they can get the best for their stations. We got one more adjustment that needs to be made. And I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I have a script here. I typically go off script. We ready to roll? This morning, I got out of bed at 4 o'clock this morning, and we started an operation that was pretty much countywide, and it was a blend of cooperation between the Clay County Sheriff's Office, the Orange Park Police Department, and the Green Cove Springs Police Department, and hence the name. We decided to call this Operation Sheriff's Office Blend. Go figure, it has a little spin of coffee involved with it, since one of the things I talk about is 3 big gulps, and that in Clay County means for those who think it's okay to commit crimes in Clay County, I'll still keep saying the same message. 1, you can stop what you're doing. 2, you can leave Clay County. Or 3, like the young men that got arrested this morning and throughout the day, we will come and get you. And so I got a few stats here. There were 23 arrests that were made today in this operation. 44 warrants were served, and I will just list out what some of those warrants were for. Of those warrants, 8 were for sale and delivery of cocaine, 11 for sale and delivery of methamphetamine, 3 were for sale and delivery of fentanyl, 3 for sale and delivery of heroin, 1 for sale and delivery of a controlled substance, 3 for possession of cocaine, 1 for possession of methamphetamine, 1 for trafficking in heroin, 1 for possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, and there were 2 for marijuana possession. So as you see, some people have the misinformation out there thinking that the Clay County Sheriff's Office focuses on marijuana charges. Well, we focus on law violators. We are law enforcement officers. We enforce existing laws. And at a point when these illegal drugs become legal, then they'll be off of our radar and they won't be illegal anymore and won't have a law to enforce. But as long as drugs are illegal, we will continue to enforce the existing laws. Nobody in Clay County is exempt from the reach of the Clay County Sheriff's Office. And it doesn't matter if you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're at church, there is no place that's safe once you decide to fall in the realm of option 3. Now, let me tell you something. We have 8 outstanding suspects that are still out there who we're looking to serve warrants. And I made those names and pictures available to our media outlets. But 1 is of concern enough to me to bring to the attention of the people in the viewing audience. And that is Justin Jennings Irving. He's a white male. Date of birth is September 4th, 1987. Again, it's Justin Jennings Irving with an E. And we provided that information to the media outlets. Now, this young man has outstanding warrants for sale and delivery of narcotics. The problem with him is he says he's not going back to jail, and he's threatening to commit suicide by cop. And if anybody knows this young man, I would encourage them to intervene on the behalf of the Clay County Sheriff's Office and discourage him from taking those actions, from putting the men and women of the Clay County Sheriff's Office in danger where they're going to have to act with the use of deadly force. It's not worth it. It's a charge that you go to court for, and you let the courts decide your fate. It's not something that you want your fate decided on the streets. And if anyone out there feels like, I want to commit suicide by cop, there's always an alternative to that. You don't have to do that. So I'm begging this young man not to go that route. Again, his name is Justin Jennings Irving. So with that, it was a successful day. We had a lot of activity out in Green Cove Springs, also out in the Clay Hill and Middleburg areas. And for the folks out there in the viewing audience, there have been folks out there in Clay Hill who have been making complaints. I've heard you. I've heard the complaints about what's going on in your neighborhoods. It's not going ignored. The folks in Middleburg, I hear you. I hear you about the overdoses that are out there. I'm upset about it too. The folks in Green Cove Springs, the folks in Orange Park, these complaints I hear. And some things don't happen overnight. You don't get to make these cases in a microwave. There's not an instant solving of cases. You have to build cases. You have to build on criminal intelligence to solidify these cases. But once we do that, then we execute these warrants like we did today. So with that, I want to thank the men and women of the Clay County Sheriff's Office, the Green Cove Springs Police Department, and the Orange Park Police Department for their assistance in removing these criminals from the streets of Clay County. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Taking these people off the street, getting these drugs off the street, do you feel like you have saved many lives out there?
Potentially, we have. You know, we may never see the fruits of our labor when you talk about things like that, but if we prevented the sale of heroin or fentanyl that would have potentially killed someone, then the potential is out there that we did save a life. Anytime we remove those kind of drugs from off of the streets, the potential is there that we did save a life. At least we kept somebody from being put in harm's way by this poison that's being pushed on our streets in Clay County.
The ages, are they young and old?
These are, for the most part, the folks that were arrested. You know, I saw a post out on social media and said, all these guys look like old heads. So old heads are people who are not children. I'm glad you asked that question. The last time we had an operation like this, it appeared that the people who were in handcuffs were all kids. Well, that's relative. I'm 53 years old. They looked like kids to me, but they were all adults except for one. They just were young adults. So these were all older people, barring one.
From looking at, I know earlier on today, when you guys first started booking them, you know, it went from 2 to 3 to eventually to where it is now.
Yes.
From background checks, it looked like a lot of these people, the majority, maybe 90%, already had narcotics convictions on their record. What does that say about, I don't know, maybe the justice system in terms of these people being able to get back out on the street and continue doing what they're doing?
You know, I don't want to get in anybody else's wheelhouse. I tell you one thing, we have a fine state attorney who prosecutes cases to the best of her ability. I can't get into the judiciary. They do what they can to give people fair sentences, but it's our responsibility as the Sheriff's Office to make sure that we're presenting good cases for the state attorney to prosecute and for the judges to give good sentences on. And they have sentencing guidelines that they're bound by as judges. But, you know, it's disheartening sometimes to see this revolving door of repeat offenders, and these repeat offenders being the ones who are pushing this poison out in our county. You know, it's disheartening, but we still have to do our due diligence as an agency and as law enforcement to continue to be diligent about removing these people from society.
And I know that everyone who was arrested today, you guys have been investigating them for months on end. This isn't just something that an investigation that started weeks ago. But did those investigations start from neighbors who were calling in to complain?
As a matter, and that's a very good question. So we get a lot of criminal intelligence on social media, people calling in, people giving anonymous crime tips, and we follow up on those things. And so when I say I hear you in Clay Hill, and I hear you in Middleburg, and I hear you in Orange Park North and some of the other areas that complain, that information comes in and it's actionable and it gets investigated. So keep those tips coming. Don't be afraid to talk about the things that are going on in your neighborhood. Don't go on social media just to rant. Let's come together as a community. Let's come together and do something about it. We are a necessary resource in society. Law enforcement is. And everybody doesn't do this profession, but you see things out there that needs our attention. So I'm encouraging everyone to, if you see something, say something. If you see a crime being committed, if you see someone or you even suspect that someone is selling narcotics or pushing that poison out in our community, say something about it. And you can do that anonymously on our website, claysheriff.com.
Can you also talk about how these crimes, they connect with other crimes? They lead to other issues that you guys are facing on a daily basis?
Sure. You know, the question being, is there some connection or nexus with narcotics, possession and sales and other crimes? We've found statistically that there is a connection between that particular crime or those particular crimes and crimes against persons and crimes against property. You have the end user looking for an easy victim to find to finance essentially their drug of choice, and sometimes they go to the extent of robbery, burglary, just committing violent crimes to support their habits. You know, unfortunately, that's just the case.
And I know, Sheriff, you're one for always having a message, especially to the bad guys, or in this case, guys that are still out there who haven't been captured.
Yes.
Maybe they're not on your radar. What is that one message you want to get out to them?
Well, they are on our radar. And there is no safe place in Clay County where you can say, you know, I'm going to lay my head in the sheriff's office. They will not reach here. They won't come here. There's no place that's off limits for us. So if you think you can hide in Clay County, you can't hide. At some point, you're going to hear that loud bang, and it'll be my people, the hard-working men and women of the Clay County Sheriff's Office who put their lives on the line to make these cases and put themselves in harm's way to make these cases, and they're going to be standing over you with masks on and their guns drawn, ready to take you to jail. And I'm going to be standing in that living room just like I promised, drinking my coffee while your butt gets taken to jail. And I think the citizens of Clay County are behind that. They're sick and tired of this mess that's going on in society. And I'm taking a stand, if nobody else will. I'm not like some of the other sheriffs. I'm maybe a little bit different in so many ways, but I'll take a stand on this issue. And you can come across into the line of Clay County, and we'll give you what you want.
Did anyone resist today or give you problems?
No, actually, none of them resisted. And thank God that they didn't.
And that coffee you're going to be drinking, will that be the Sheriff's Office blend?
Actually, we're working on that. So stay tuned. We're working on our Clay County Sheriff's Office living room blend. So when you see me with my coffee cup, and there's laughter behind the cameras, when you see me with my coffee cup, you will see in that cup the Clay County Sheriff's Office living room blend. We're partnering with one of our local coffee companies, and the proceeds from that, or a portion of those proceeds, will be going to support our Clay PAL. Thank y'all for coming out. Any other questions? All righty. Thank y'all.